Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. This is the 14 First Alert Weather Show at 9 Tuesday, March the 10th. We are looking ahead to severe storms on Wednesday, so we will get right into that in a moment. I know you probably have some questions, and you can ask those on the 14 News Facebook page in the comments section, and we'll get to those here a little way into the program. So I've shifted the alert day, not a surprise here, just to Wednesday. We're not going to have any threatening weather before midnight tonight. All threats still in play with wind, hail, tornadoes, all possible in a couple of rounds on Wednesday. Excuse me. We do have some very light rain now showing up over the tri-state. Most of that, though, is just kind of coming and going, not really an issue. Still a few warnings up in the north here where we were expecting that severe weather. We have storms moving in near, that would be Plymouth or so, over in northern Indiana, and then additional severe weather still coming across the Mississippi River. This has been ongoing here for several hours. Meanwhile, to our south and west, we have showers moving in, just rain here. The main line of concern is actually out to our west, and you get a little better glimpse of it here. This is along the cold front, and that's where we have the damaging winds, many tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warnings, a couple of tornado warnings in there as well. No changes here with the Storm Prediction Center's outlook overnight through early tomorrow morning. Even though it says Tuesday, this goes all the way through to 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. And we are right down here at the fringe. The thinking is we might get a few thunderstorms that develop large hail in this very warm air mass overnight. There is also a risk then, a 2 of 5 risk across the remainder of the tri-state starting at 7 a.m. Basically, it just picks up where that one let off and carries us through the afternoon into the early evening. Now, there are some caveats here, and I'll talk about those in just a couple of minutes, but it is a very, very large area there of risk that kind of mirrors what we're seeing to our west right now. The hail risk for tomorrow is minimal there at 5%, whereas damaging winds, that risk is significantly higher at 15% across the area. And then we get into the tornado risk here in just a second, which is still at 2% across the eastern half of the tri-state. So we can't rule out a few embedded tornadoes. Wouldn't surprise me to see a tornado warning or two or rotating thunderstorms. And this is the updated timeline. This is what we've been watching very closely here. The high-resolution models are trying to generate at least some rain again across western Kentucky overnight. But all the way up through 4 a.m., it's fairly quiet. And then that's when the cold front gets a little closer. We will likely have some storms moving in at that time. And by 5:30 or so, perhaps here in our southern Illinois counties and even into western Kentucky, a few thunderstorms rolling through. That first surge then kind of fades away by 7 a.m. And we get into a period of quiet weather in the middle here before the next line moves in. Here's caveat number one. If we get a lot of rain or thunderstorms in the morning, oftentimes that will kind of pull back on the risk in the afternoon, especially if there's no clearing, as sometimes will happen as we get into the warm sector. Then by noon and into the afternoon, more storms developing. I think our line will probably come together in the early afternoon hours. And once we get a linear form or a line of storms, that's when we have the best chance for damaging winds. And within those lines, as we know here in the tri-state, we sometimes get embedded tornadoes, which are difficult to detect on radar, but damaging, can be damaging nonetheless. The storms continue to move to the southeast and should be out of here by the latter part of the afternoon. We may have some lingering rain before the cooler air flushes in and dries us out then for the remainder of the night. Our rainfall, earlier we were looking at amounts of, around an inch or so, and that still is possible under some of the heavier thunderstorms, but widespread flooding is not really a concern with this event. We could see some isolated flooding. Many of you like to see all the parameters, and since we have time to do that, we'll go ahead and look at them. I'm going to focus on two here. The first is the wind shear, and we are loaded with wind shear, or if you look at the models, helicity, but that has to do with the spin or twist in the atmosphere as a parcel or a bubble of air rises up through the column. And so if we see higher levels of shear, we would have better chances for tornadoes. Now the shear is strongest here where you see the reds, and that's around 2, and then into the tri-state area here around 5. Now, caveat number 2 is there can be a whole lot of shear, but if it's not lined up with the storms, then it won't have the same impact on them. So keep that in mind. It's a little out of sync with some of the other models I'm looking at. Of course, this is the GFS, which is a lower resolution but longer term model versus the model I showed you off the top there, the graph. Low-level jet stream, and this is late tonight going into Wednesday. A lot of strong winds there just off the deck. Again, not quite synced in with the arrival of the front itself. Typically in this scenario, you have a jet stream that will round the base of the trough and come up, and that's where we would expect to see the enhanced risk for severe weather. And we're not really seeing those things come together. Now, I'm not poo-pooing the idea of severe weather. I'm just saying that everything isn't like perfectly lined up for some sort of outbreak. And we're not expecting an outbreak either. We may get a few warnings tomorrow, but that should be the extent of it. Notice, too, on the supercell outlook, we are certainly eligible for them. We have plenty of CAPE and shear, but we don't have a mechanism to kick them off like a cold front. Up here where we have the actual outbreak, or we're having it earlier, you see those colors much hotter there into the yellows and bright greens. So that's what we would be looking for in a forecast outbreak kind of situation. For Wednesday morning and into the afternoon, again, we're showing up in that supercell outlook, which simply means the environment is favorable for supercells. And I think this is really, really important to emphasize when we're looking at some of these products, which we typically don't show on TV, because you have to really think about this for a minute. This simply shows that the atmosphere is capable. It doesn't mean you're going to have any of this stuff. So when you look at these with me, don't freak out, okay? Because a lot of times we show, things like this, or the models show them, and nothing happens. The tornado risk, obviously greatest up here where we're getting a few of those severe storms. Notice, though, that by Wednesday, it's pretty widespread, and that's in line with the Storm Prediction Center's 2% risk for tornadoes. Doesn't mean everybody will have a tornado in there. It just means that the conditions would be ripe for them to occur. So just a few takeaways here. We're expecting 2 rounds of storms. The first one from about midnight, 2 a.m. to early morning, 6, 7 a.m., a break, and then picking up again around noon and after, all the way up through 6. There is a tornado threat for tonight and tomorrow, but it's very low. If some of you have looked at the outlook maps, I didn't put that one in, I should have. It had some crosshatching on it over southern Illinois, a 2% risk. But what the crosshatching indicates is that if a tornado were to occur, EF2 would be possible, but the risk is very low. So this is kind of the challenge we have with these new outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center to convey the relative risk and the threat. So it's looking at intensity, but it's also looking at probability of occurrence. And at 2%, that's pretty low in a tornado risk environment. But EF2 should get your attention, but that would be if a tornado can get going under the right circumstances. And finally, there are some limiting factors. I mentioned the first one there, which would be, or the second one, which would be some early storms that kind of knock some of the energy out of the atmosphere. The second would be if we become capped, if the atmosphere is capped and we have nothing to break the cap, that could prolong the quiet spell before storms erupt. And then if the timing was off, we would just get rain. The cold front, by the way, will break the cap typically. Any kind of lifting mechanism will punch those storms right through. So I think, just again to reiterate, we're not expecting this widespread, humongous severe weather outbreak, but rather widespread rain and thunderstorms. Some of them will become severe with damaging winds and maybe hail or a tornado. Out there now we have 71 and a light rain shower going on. Temperatures around the area are near 70, and it will stay pretty muggy overnight, and it is muggy too. That humidity was at like 65% this afternoon. That's more like late spring. than, late winter. 81 was our high today at Evansville. That's a degree short of the record for this date, which would be 82, set back in 1990. So today tied our hottest temperature for the year and for the month. Still no rain showing there, but we will probably have a trace or two before midnight tonight. And then for the month now, of course, we have a boatload of rain and more on the way, and we are very, very warm with 12 degrees above the average temperature for today. And as William Raleigh mentioned yesterday, I think here on the stream, is that for the month or is that for the, days so far? And it is for the month when we look at an average temperature. And we will probably pull that way down, as I'll show you here in just a couple of minutes. Our monthly rainfall, as I mentioned yesterday, this is the first month in the last 4 that we have had surplus rainfall. Very dry fall, end of fall, and meteorological winter there. Okay, on the big picture, pretty easy to pick out where the cold front is. It's basically from about Green Bay here all the way down to near Oklahoma City and into Texas, and that's the focus for these storms that are now firing up along the line. Classic spring setup here, where we have the Gulf open for business. We're in the warm sector. The air is unstable. Now we just need a trigger. That will be a cold front or possibly some little waves or ripples that move through and initiate the storms. Here's tomorrow afternoon at 3. We're fully involved there with showers and storms up and down the cold front, and then it kind of squelches off the moisture there in the evening, and that will allow cooler air to move back in and things to quiet down. The next 7 days, we have yet another big drop on the way after we get down to 52 on Thursday. And we will go from 71 for the high down to 33 for the low Thursday. These are typical springtime frontal passages where you get these 30 and 35 degree drops in more with the temperature. Then we quickly warm back up again. Southerly winds return. We will hit 68 on Sunday. Another cold front comes through. Can't rule out some severe weather then. And then we drop down to 28 on Monday morning. We may even see some snow showers or flurries mixed in with the rain. So winter's not completely done yet. Never write off winter too soon. Here's Sunday afternoon at 4. We have showers and storms ahead of the system. Thunder is a good bet, and then here we go with the changeover to or mix with snow. No accumulation, or at least if we had any, it would be on grassy areas. The ground is so warm right now, and it will be wet by that point, so that would inhibit any accumulation. And then the GFS is still trying to bring maybe another little hint of rain or a rain-snow mix on Wednesday next week. The European model has a little different take on the whole thing. It too is bringing in some rain and thunderstorms on Sunday evening, but it does not have any mention of snow on the back side. So the Europeans' temperatures are a little bit warmer. That shouldn't be a threat. So I think the bottom line here is I'm kind of leaning toward the GFS. We know those temperatures are going to really plummet going into early next week. And then midweek next week, the Euro has some rain in here too. So when I say storms late, that means towards sunrise tomorrow morning, not tonight and not on Tuesday. It'll be early Wednesday morning, mainly after 3. We should drop to 66, 71 early for the high, and then once those storms get going in the afternoon, we will see the temperature pull back again. And then there's our next possible first alert weather day. We're going to get through tomorrow first and then examine Sunday, but that could give us yet another big swing in the temperature there to the tune of about 30 to 35 degrees. Longer range through the March 24th week, we have warmer than normal temperatures returning and drier than normal too, which would portend quieter weather, maybe fewer storms. Riley sent in a picture of Storm the mini horse right there. A horse is a horse, of course, of course. I'm really dating myself. Some of you may remember Mr. Ed, the talking horse. I think he was on TV in the 60s, maybe. A favorite show of mine when I was a kid. All right, which was not yesterday. All right, let's have a look here at your questions, comments, concerns, and we'll get everybody taken care of here. So first off, I'll start all the way here at the top. Tori Talbert just got in, missed the models for the cap and shear and all of that. Capping is possible early, Tori, but the cap will break when the cold front comes in, and the shear, there's plenty of that. So we have cape, we have shear, I mean, we have all the ingredients out there. The big question is, will the cold front capitalize on those or not? If we get a lot of rain in the morning, that could kind of dampen the storm activity in the afternoon. Caleb Zeller, living in Oklahoma now, loves keeping up with Tri-State. Everyone be safe and careful. All right, well, you be safe and careful. You've got storms all over in Oklahoma right now. Let's see, Ashlyn Emmons. So I think they will put enhanced risk in Vincennes. No, I really don't. I think the closer to that low to the north, like north of Indy or up around Fort Wayne, Muncie, Kokomo, right in there, and then across into Ohio, like Dayton, Columbus, would be an area that could be bumped up. But I think here in the Tri-State, we will probably stay at a 2 of 5 risk. And of course, I can't read the tea leaves at the Storm Prediction Center, but that seems to be kind of the going trend right now. Megan Steiner, if the cap holds until the front comes through, does that leave more energy in the atmosphere when it does move through? No. What happens is if there's a capping inversion, which there could be tomorrow, it basically keeps the thunderstorms from going up. Now, if the cold front comes in and forces the issue, then yeah, you can still have severe weather. In fact, sometimes you will get very rapid growth of thunderstorms when the cap breaks, because all of a sudden there's all of that cold air up there, and we call it a steep mid-level lapse rate, where the temperature cools very rapidly as you go higher. And so once you push a parcel of air through there, whoosh, it cools rapidly and rises quickly. And that's why we sometimes get hail and rotation and tornadoes and things like that. Mary Slaughter Devine, hello from Muhlenberg County. Well, hello, Mary. We're glad you're in here tonight. Our southern flank, you guys always get either the last of the thunderstorms or the first, depending on which way they're coming from. Angie Wampler hit 80 in Vincennes today. That doesn't surprise me. Tend to remember warmer weather this time of the year brings thunderstorms. It does, and it will. Yeah. Michelle Jones King, what's the rain chances from 12:30 to 4 Sunday? Right now they're at 70%. That's a pretty high percentage probability this many days out. That Sunday system looks really interesting too. It may generate a boatload of snow up in Michigan. It's a very intense low, at least in the models. Now, keep in mind, today's Tuesday, that's Sunday. As we always say here on the Weather Show, it's going to change. And oftentimes, those longer time frames in the models, especially out much beyond 3 or 4 days, the model will overdo things. Big, intense low and huge, this, that, and the other. And then when you get right down to it, it kind of comes back to reality. But to answer your question, I'm looking mainly in the afternoon and evening for storms on Sunday, or at least some rain and thunder. Okay, just a real quick update here. Hopefully, I know you all know this stuff because you watch this show, so you're already kind of into the weather anyway. But just a couple of things to keep in mind. Those sirens outside are not really a good way to get your warnings unless you happen to be outside. The better ways are the 14 First Alert app and NOAA Weather Radio, because they operate continuously. The app you can take with you, and the NOAA Weather Radio can wake you in the night. And the app can too, but the weather radio is really obnoxious, so it will wake you up. There's no question on that. A couple of safety tips here too, if you happen to live in high-rise building, and by high-rise, I know around here that's 3-4 stories or more. You want to get to the center and lowest level if you can. Don't use the elevators, and just stay inward away from those windows. Higher up, you're more prone to stronger winds as you get off the surface. And then protect your head with blankets and pillows, just like you would in a house or a mobile home or your school or wherever you happen to be. The best spot in a house is toward the middle. Closets are excellent because they are a reinforced area within the walls here. So if you can get 3 walls between you and the outside, 2 or 3, that's much better than being on an exterior wall. And yeah, go there. Bathrooms are good too, as long as they don't have windows and you can get into the bathtub and use blankets and cushions there as kind of a extra safe shell. And remember, after the storm, if we have down power lines or flooding or things like that, you need to be real careful when you venture out, because sometimes those lines are live and you can drive through water and get on the power lines and things like that. So just be very careful. Had a couple of questions about mobile home safety, and you know, we always advise if severe weather is anticipated and we have an alert day out, you should at least have a plan in place in a mobile home to go somewhere else if you can. That might be a neighbor's house, it might be a public shelter, it could be the library, you know, a store, someplace that would have you know, a more sturdy construction to it to protect you. Mobile homes, even if they're tied down, they really don't offer a lot of protection from storms. And I know I talk to a lot of you, and it's a scary proposition. And I know people can't just put down everything and leave. So that's why you really need to pay attention to the weather, but do have that plan in place long before the warnings start to come. Our plan here at 14 News, of course, I'm going to do the updated weather here at 10 o'clock over on TV. Then tomorrow, Byron Douglas will likely be in here early. If I know Byron, we may pass in the hallway when I leave here at 11 o'clock. He will either get on the stream or Facebook Live and kind of walk through the storms, if we have any there, before 14 News starts at 4:30 for sunrise. And he'll be here for that. Arden Gregory will be backing him up, and then she'll carry it through to the midday program. I'm in here, and then Michael Feckes. So we're fully staffed tomorrow and prepared to keep you safe, hopefully, and give you the warnings if we have any. So that's everything I have for you tonight. Hopefully you know a little more now than you did about our severe weather threat. Just keep an eye on the weather, stay alert, and stay safe. I'll see you on 14 News at 10 o'clock.